What is up, guys? I'm Dis or DYS. I'm coming at you with a build guide video for the Witch Doctor. This is the Sprint Doctor Speed Farm. It's designed for farming Death Breath and lots of it. I have about 800 and so, and that's just from like an hour, not even an hour of playing through. So you're definitely going to get a lot of death breaths running T16s. It's quite fast, it's quite strong, and you can tell I don't even have the 10-second Ingeom. So I call it the Sprint Doctor because you're basically keeping that sprint up almost 100% of the time. So you're just running from elite pack to elite pack, and you're gaining the Ingeom proc, and you're just sprinting and sprinting and sprinting to the next elite. You're doing tons of damage. And speaking of which, we are going to go over the skills. So the skills that you'll be using are Big Bad Voodoo, Boogeyman. And you're going to hit a couple enemies, and it's going to spawn a few dogs. And then you're going to switch the Slam Dance, and that's going to increase your damage. Why are we doing this? Because of the passive right here. So while you have a gargantuan, zombie dog, or fetish summoned, your movement speed is increased by 15%, and we want lots of movement speed. The bonus damage is increased to 30%, blah, 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 but that's just not going to happen. Anyway, so we want Spirit Barrage Manitou, obviously, because that's all your damage right there. You're going to cast it, it's going to be shooting all these bolts out everywhere and just destroying everything on the screen, basically. We're going to be using Horrify Stalker, which is going to be even more movement speed. So channel the horrors of the on-form lands and frighten nearby enemies. Increase movement speed after casting. Great stuff. We're going to be running Soul Harvest. Soul to Waste, which is going to increase our movement speed yet again. So you'll notice a pattern here. Everything is movement speed. Spirit Walk Severance, which is going to increase your movement speed by 100%. So that's actually the big movement part of the build. So that's going to be doing. And we're going to be casting Locust Swarm Pestilence. So this isn't going to be a casted skill, and you'll see why later. So basically, we're using the Pestilence rune because our Locust Swarm is going to spread to everything on the screen the minute we come in contact with it. We'll be using Rush of Essence because you're using Spirit Barrage, and Spirit Barrage will return 100 mana over 10 seconds. So, yeah, every time you cast it. And we already went over Fierce Loyalty. Graven Justice is going to help your cooldowns when you're not proccing. Because there will be instances where you don't proc your, let's be real, where you don't proc your Ingeom. So that's going to be good to have to make sure you can get your run up as quickly as possible. And I'm using the Death passive. You can take this off if you, for me, because I'm lower Paragon and I don't have as much damage as, I don't have as much toughness or damage as I would have if I was higher. So normally at the start, when I don't have any gold or any toughness at the very beginning, I usually do proc it, so I'm using it. You can switch it out for Confidence Ritual if you want to have a little extra damage, or really anything you want. But for now, I'm using Spirit Vessel, which is quite important for me to survive. And we're going to go over the gear now. So we're using the 5 out of the 6 pieces of the Mandanugu set. We have a Ring of Royal Grandeur, and obviously we're using the Sage set. So the Sage set will basically be what's giving us all the death breath. That's the point of the build, right? So on the helm, you're going to be rolling Intelligence, critical hit damage, and Spirit Barrage damage. The chest piece, int vit armor is fine. It's what I'm running. You can have reduced damage from elites instead of armor if you like. I don't think it really matters at T16. We're rolling cooldown on the shoulders, and then of course crit hit, chance, and damage, and cooldown on the gloves. That's not a very good amulet. Ideally, the running flavor of time, obviously. You can switch it out for squirts if you want, but I recommend using this just because it increases the duration by double of your pylons, which is really nice. This one's a poorly rolled one. We have Nemesis Bracers. So you'll be rolling your elemental damage, which is cold, and crit hit is important. So these aren't rolled that well either. But you want these to be spawning as many as elites, because what's the point? You want death breaths. Elites drop death breath, so you want to use that. You can use Lacumbers if you want. If you feel like you're dying too much, you can switch it out, but I recommend using that. Ring of Emptiness is essential. Deal up to 300% increased damage to enemies affected by either your Haunt or your Locust Swarm, and you'll be using Locust Swarm. We'll be using... Oh, sorry, we looked at that. We'll be using Injom. This one is a poorly rolled one, as you can see, and I've got the socket rolled onto it because I don't have the Ramalandi's gift to get a free socket on there. But when I do, that'll increase my damage even more because I'll be rolling attack speed on it. Or cooldown. Depends. I haven't decided yet. The pants, obviously, nothing important there. We're going to need Gazing Demise as your offhand. And this is essential for your Spirit Barrage damage because your Spirit Barrage will gain the effect of the Phantasm Rune, which is these little guys. But these aren't the ones making all the damage. They'll be doing a fair amount of damage, but most of the damage is going to be coming from this guy up here. And each active Phantasm lasts twice as long, increasing the damage of your Spirit Barrage by up to 150%, and also increases the attack rate from Manitou Specters, which is the big cheese. That's the thing you want. That's the big one, right? So the more of these little guys you spawn on the screen, even though they're not you, oops, my bad, even though they're not your damage dealers, will increase the attack speed of this little guy, which is your damage dealer. Okie dokie, now let's get to the cube. So in the cube, we'll be using the Barber, which is another big part of this build. So instead of dealing direct damage with your Spirit Barrage, now accumulates on the target, and when you stop casting it, explodes and dealing 500% of the accumulated damage to all enemies within 15 yards. So that's a big damage. It's just basically when you stop channeling, it's just going to explode, but you're not really going to be doing a lot of channeling. So the Wormwood, and this is a very important part of the build. You could switch it out for something if you want to manually cast your Locust Swarm, but I don't recommend it because you got to stop to cast it, but with this it's going to automatically cast it. So I recommend using this 100%. So it continually plagues enemies around you with Locust Swarm, and you're using the Pestilence runes. So as soon as it hits one of them, it's just going to spread to the whole screen, which is great. And then another essential part of this build is your Gold Wrap. Gold Wrap is on gold pickup, you gain armor for 5 seconds equal to the amount of gold you picked up. And we're using a Boon of the Hoarder, and that has a 100% chance on killing an enemy to cause an explosion of gold. Gain 30% increased movement speed for 2 seconds after picking up gold. So you're going to gain even more movement speed as you're picking up gold, and you're picking up gold a lot. And you're going to be picking up a lot of gold, so you're going to be gaining armor, so you're basically invincible. I'm using the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard, which grants you an Absorb Shield up to 200% after not taking damage for 4 seconds, and that life per second, which I think you could swap this out for something else. Maybe a Wreath of Lightning for movement speed or something. That's what I'm using just for a little more survivability when I don't have gold, which is great. And I'm using a Bane of the Trapped, which is just more damage. All right, so let's test it out. Let's do a rift. So we'll do a T16. Ephelum Rift, and we'll just... So when you hop in the rift, cast your big bad voodoo, and your horrify, and you see how I procced because I didn't have gold. And I'm just gonna run around. So we'll grab this guy. Oh, grab the shield here. Pick up more gold. Get an elite. Pick him down pretty quickly. And you see we get the in-jump proc, and we're running straight to the next elite. And we're casting Horrify as much as possible, because that's increasing our movement speed more. And we're getting loads of Death Breath in between. So I'm not going to go ahead and run through the whole rift. You basically get the idea, so we're running and running and running and running and running. This is the Sprint Doctor part. And look at that, to the next elite. And we'll kill all this so we get the in-jump proc. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just a quiver. And to the next full. Ooh. Wow, this is really nice. They're basically. Oh, even more. Oh, nice. We're basically just continuously casting. Oh, little goblin here. Pick up lots of gold. Sprint to the next elite. It's really fast. It's really strong. Like I said, if I had a better weapon and more Paragon, this would only go faster. And it's a really fun build to play and really easy to gear. So that's basically going to be it for this build guide. I will leave links in the description to my Twitch. You can go over there. I do stream every now and again. I'm going to leave a link to Diablo fans so you can check out the build over there as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. It helps out tremendously, and I wouldn't mind knowing what else you guys would like more for content. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you. Later. Kill this RG real quick. Nice.